So Mark, back to league action this Saturday after the cup game last Sunday, and I guess, looking back, it's a few days past now. On reflection, disappointed, I would imagine, that you didn't get across the line. First time of asking, but I suppose looking at it, you're still in the hat. What's the mood in the camp been this week after that one?
No, it's been good actually. The whole change. It sounds silly, but changing the game to a Sunday just changes the format of both weeks either side of it. So our weeks looked a little bit different in terms of when we train, days in, days off. But players were back in on Tuesday in good spirits. We had 2 really good training days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I think the last game always plays tricks on you. I think the reality of the situation is we find ourselves in the league 3 points lighter than we were after 17 games last season, having had a really, really tough run of games and fixtures. The first 10 games put us in a position in the playoffs that was always unrealistic, and I said at the time, look at October's fixtures, I don't think we'll be there after 20 games, and that's obviously played out that way. Hasn't gone as well as we hoped, that run, obviously, but at the same time, there's no real disaster, but the last game can play tricks on you. When we finished the Peterborough game on the Saturday evening, we were commenting on a really productive week. We took 3 points from 6. We had 2 performances that we thought were really reflective of us. And then we went last weekend and weren't able to score a goal that would have probably changed the game had we done so. And we had quite a lot of the ball. I think there were times in the game where we were too open and they had too many chances. And we're certainly not trying to pretend it was a really top performance. But those games are never easy. You've seen a number of teams that have gone out the competition to teams at lower levels than them that weekend. We weren't one of them. Sets us up for Tuesday night to go and try and get a home tie in the next round, because we know where the potential game is for that. So with all the challenges, we're managing a squad that's found it difficult in the period of time. We're trying to keep people and get people fit. It's not been easy. We'd of course have loved to have gone through in that game to save ourselves the extra game, but at the same time, I think what's good about this place is everyone just cracks on and gets on with it, determined to try and continue. I think we turned a corner when we went to Wickham and played as we did and won like we did, and you can try and convince yourself that that's not the case now because of a result that didn't quite go away at the weekend. But in the end, we're in okay form, and we've put in a few performances in the last fortnight that we're quite happy with. So we go into the weekend. Now we've got obviously only 2 league games this month, but ones that are at home that we need to try and create a real atmosphere for and take some points from.
Yeah, I guess the bonus if you can get through the replay, and obviously nothing's a given, of course, Mark, but is that the next game against Grimsby will be at home, so 4 consecutive home games, and I guess in the light of what's been a difficult period, to have that consecutive run of home games potentially without the distraction of travel will perhaps help.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we've got to get through that game, and obviously there's a more important game before that one to come, but that is the if everything played out as we want it to, that would be the situation, and we hope that playing at home pays off in our favour. Obviously our form at home at the start of the season was exceptional, then we've had some difficult days where we haven't got results, and then you end up playing in a really nervous stadium where everyone's a bit anxious, and when we went to Wickham, we needed to get out of the Abbey and go away and not have the pressure of the home crowd at all, and just go and have a tear up with Wickham and try and get a result. So that worked well for us. What we need now, if we're going to have a run of home games, is of course we need good performances and hope the results go in our way, but we need a really supportive stadium that isn't quiet, that isn't nervous, that isn't anxious, that just says, come on, let's roll our sleeves up. This is the situation. It's not unexpected. There's 2 leagues in this league and we're not in the top one, and our aspiration is to try and finish as high up in our league as possible. So in the big scheme of things, we're probably not far away from where we would expect to be at the moment in the league table, but we're certainly a little bit behind where we'd want to be in terms of form because of the order of the games. But you can't choose your order of games. I've said this before, you can't choose when you play teams, and you can't choose your injuries and your timing of those. So we know there's been some challenges along the way, but I also back us over 46 games to be a good enough team to be competitive at this level and get some decent results and show what we showed last year and in the early part of this.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's been an intriguing start to the league campaign at home. Obviously, winning the first 4 games, which was brilliant for everyone, and then losing the next 4 without scoring. Is that just the nature of football and how it falls sometimes, Mark, or is there a psychological element to it where players, as that run goes on without getting the next home win, become a little bit psychological when you go out with that pressure of needing to perform and get a result?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's as defined as home and away wins. I just think it's just results in general, probably more so than just where you're actually playing those games. There's no doubt in the early part of the season things went our way. When momentum's with you, it feels like everything goes your way. When it's against you, it feels like everything doesn't go your way, and all the small decisions and things. And you can look at moments of goals conceded or timing of chances missed or injuries. All those things can go against you. In the end, you're in control of your response, and you're in control of your attitude, and you're in control of your work ethic. And they're the things that we have to turn up and do well all the time. And if we do that, then we've got some good players and we've got a good team, and we can get results. But the long and short of it is, after 10 games, you look at the fixture list, the worst thing that happened is we played all the best teams back to back, and we're not as good as them. And we shouldn't expect to be. We should expect to want to be able to compete with them, and we want to be able to get some good results against them. But I think over the course of a season, even last season, we finished where we finished because we get lots of good results, but in the main we don't get many wins against the top teams because they're the top teams for a reason. And I think this season the top teams have got stronger. There's no doubt that the top 8 to 10 are probably going to finish further ahead of everybody else than even last season. And so that probably lies the challenge there. And we do know where we are. There's an understanding of that without wanting to be pessimistic about it, because you want to be ambitious and you're in a rush to get better. We certainly are. But we also have to hold on to the no ego. And last season we played the whole year like we had to prove ourselves, and we still got to prove ourselves. We're not a sustained club at this level. We've not got players that have put together game after game, year after year of consistent high level performances at this level. So our challenge as a team, and the players' challenge is, they've got to prove themselves every single week, every single game, that we can and are good enough to be at this level. Because if we aspire to stay here and achieve things here and achieve higher at this level, or players go beyond the level, then that's everybody's responsibility to do that. So that's a nice challenge for us that we find ourselves in. And in a difficult period, as hard as that is, and as confidence hitting as that can be, sometimes you've got to accept the challenge and rise to it. And that's where we find ourselves at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, in a wider context, in terms of results, I think six losses in the last 7 league games, and you always talk about the players always having that level of confidence. They're always confident when they go out on the pitch, but for you, Mark, I mean, obviously the results weren't what anyone expected or wanted. But for you personally, how much of a learning curve has it been in terms of trying to stay focused and make sure you get through the difficult spell?
Staying focused is easy because it's just a job and everything else. I mean, the numbers and the runs of games you can do anything with. So you say 6 in 7, that's right. But at some point you have to draw a line under a run of results. I think we drew it and won at Wycombe. And in the last 2 league games, we've won one and lost one. So in that sense, we're only as good as that little period, really. Otherwise, you can just constantly confuse yourself. If we're going to go 6 from 7, we might as well just say 6 wins so far. More wins at this stage this year than we had last year. You can choose any time frame you want. If you get wrapped up too much in the one headline stat, that's what can throw you. You draw 0-0 at Curzon at the weekend and everyone thinks it's a disaster, when actually previously we were saying we've had a good week there, we've turned a corner and we've done all right. So it's constantly convincing yourself and everybody else that we're all right, we'll be all right as long as we do what we're supposed to do. There's no doubt your confidence gets hit when things aren't going well. That's really obvious. And the challenge of this month has been twofold probably. 1, performances and results, and then 2, availability of players. And we have to find our way through that. I think a lot of clubs and squads have struggled with keeping players fit in this period of time. But the severity of our injuries, the fact that they've come in lots of cases in similar positions, it has always hit us. And when you're Cambridge United, you can't afford that many big players out for that period of time. It's always going to have an impact on you. So we just have to overcome that and convince everybody that we'll be all right if we keep doing what we're doing. And the one thing I'll give the players credit for is there is a real spirit and belief that we can and will improve. But we're also understanding that we're actually not miles away from where we should be. People would expect us to be in this season and on course for the season that we would say will be a successful one. So you can believe the real noise and negativity in the moment, of course, and sometimes you fall into that trap. But at the same time, you just have to do what's required. We've still got a lot of games and points to play for, and we'll be fighting to try and win as many as we can.
Yeah, of course. So looking ahead a little bit more to Saturday, obviously there's been a little bit more of a focus on goal scoring of late. Obviously Sam and Joe got a 36 between them last season. They haven't quite hit those heights so far yet this season. Is that putting a little bit more pressure on those around them to chip in with goals as well, Mark?
I think it just puts pressure on us in general, that in order to win games we've obviously got to go and score a few goals. I mean, we scored 3 at Wycombe last week, which isn't too bad against a good side, a place we've always found very, very difficult to go to. But over the course of that period of time, we've got to try to become a bit more creative, and we've got to be more clinical in the moments that we have, because we've had moments in games, and obviously those goals can change a game quite dramatically, as we've seen against us and for us at certain times. So we're obviously work to try to improve that. I think we're in a phase where we're not at our fluid best. We are lacking a little bit in confidence, but not in belief and not in togetherness. So that's the important thing that we've got to work our way through. Grind out a few results, you become more confident, and your game starts to become a little bit more fluid. So I'm sure we'll get to that point, no doubt. We've got however many games we've got until January, where we've got to try and get a few decent results, a few wins, and turn a few of those days where we take no points into days where we take one, because in the end that's the number of games that we've lost and not drawn is the highest number this year. That's the disappointing thing, and the fact of, you know, the confidence of a team. If we can be a resilient and strong team that doesn't give up chances too easily, that will help us be in games longer, and players' confidence in the game will remain and give us a better chance of scoring ourselves. So I think there's always more than one facet to every part of the game, and we have to think through that a little bit and not get too carried away by it all.
Yeah, of course. So Jack Gardale returning on Saturday, of course, always been a little bit more patchy of late in terms of goal scoring, and not picking up the level of league wins that they perhaps would like. But there's no getting away from the fact that they're in 6th place for no other reason that they're a decent side. What's your assessment of their season so far? And I guess there's elements of their play that you think you can exploit this Saturday?
Well, we hope so. We've had some good games against them. Obviously, gone alongside them for promotion season and been in similar situations for the last couple of years. I think what you know with Bolton Wanderers is, through probably not just football performance, there was other contributing factors that we ended up in the same league together in League Two. What you probably find now is they're at the level they expect to be at in terms of competing at the top end of this league, and with a number of teams wanting to show they can get to the level above, because over a number of years, you know, if you go 20 years, they've probably spent more time in the Premier League and Championship than any other league. We've spent more time in the National League and League Two than any other league. So that in itself just shows the significant difference between the two clubs, and probably expectations, and that they've got very good finance, very good backing. They've built a very good squad. January has always been a very big month for them and the turnaround in their squads, but I think they go into January this year with a much stronger squad than they've ever had, and that gives them lots of continuity and lots of options. So I watched them at Barnsley last week in the Cup. They changed things a little bit that day, but I think we know what to expect from them in terms of the quality of their footballers and the players that they've got. But we hope that we can be a competitive match for them, and we obviously won the game at the Abbey last year. We'll be looking to try to do the same thing again, but we know how difficult that will be. It'd be great to see Jack. Obviously did a great job for us when he was here. A really good character, and look forward to catching up with him on the weekend.
Good. In terms of team news, Mark, obviously we know Dini and Adam Fajiri, the list is quite extensive at the moment as well. Brandon, they'll all be missing this weekend. But any better news on George Williams and Liam O'Neill ahead of the weekend?
Liam O'Neill will be a while. He'll be a few weeks. The only other really one is George. Hopefully he'll be out today training, so we'll see how he is. He's got a chance. Harrison came through an hour last week, so he's got a chance. Everybody else is good to go. So we'll just wait and see how those boys do this morning. But George is the only one really to come back into the squad from last week. So we know the probably 17, 18 players that we're working with at the minute is the squad till January. Nobody else outside of that will be back. So the injury news will be that unless anyone falls out of that, we don't expect anyone else to be coming back until the new year.